The first question has been asked by the Honorable MJ Maswangani, and the first question is about developing the Sovereign Wealth Fund and its benefits for the majority of the people of the Republic. Honorable the President.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, sovereign wealth funds are by their nature often used by many countries around the world to harness national resources for economic as well as for social development. They are often used to preserve and to grow a country's wealth for the benefit of future generations. In a document that was published in December of 2021 by the National Treasury, they described some of the features of a sovereign wealth fund. And they say that such a fund is often a state-owned company that would accumulate resources for capital investment through a dedicated revenue instrument or instruments. It would then invest these resources in different asset classes. Countries with sovereign wealth funds, and there are quite a number of them around the world, often maintain surpluses in their current accounts and balance sheets or balances. This provides the fiscal space to establish a sovereign wealth fund. At present, with our current fiscal position, with substantial current account and budget deficits, it is currently not the most opportune and favorable time for us to establish a sovereign wealth fund. However, there are a number of options that are under consideration. Funding for service delivery remains under pressure for us. Additional resources are required to improve the recruitment of key personnel such as police and teachers. We also need to increase investment in the maintenance of basic service maintenance, or infrastructure rather. In light of these realities, the most appropriate policy path for us is to use any additional resources at this moment to reduce the debt burden that our country carries and improve the delivery of services. Several countries use revenue from the exploitation of their natural resources to establish and sustain sovereign wealth funds. In our country, however, the public revenues or royalties that we derive from mineral resources have historically not been very reliable, or have they been very consistent. We have therefore suggested that one of the possible routes towards the establishment of a sovereign wealth fund is through the reform and consolidation of state-owned enterprises. This is the route that a number of countries have used, and the one example that I got to know of was Singapore through Temasek, Dubai, or the UAE through their Investment Dubai Fund. We are working to implement a new centralized ownership model for our state-owned enterprises. As I said in the opening of Parliament, the establishment of a state-owned enterprise holding company will give us greater capacity to build a sovereign wealth fund. This has been done successfully by other countries whose sovereign wealth funds have built up capital from the high performance of the state-owned enterprises rather than from the fiscus. While the conditions do not currently exist to establish the immediate establishment of a sovereign wealth fund, this is an objective to which we should continue to work. Such a fund could help to ensure that the national wealth of our country is effectively used to support economic and social development for years to come. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Masanganyi.
Na Cancer Speaker. Muchaviseki President. Ku vona ku tiko ra Afrika-Dzonga ri na swicelwa swo tala, mineral resources. Tanihi loko murile. Na ku vona ku matiko man'wana ma tirhisa swicelwa leswi ku endla sovereign wealth fund. A mi voni ku swi fanerile tanihi tiko leri nga fuma hi swicelwa ku hi tirhisa swona ku endla sovereign fund, wealth fund. Una case study nje President va nga dzi sedza uri the mineral resources dzi shumisiwe. Ra understand uri muvhuso a una tshelede. Mara why ri sa shumisi wealth hi ri nayo ya the mineral resources u ita sovereign wealth fund. Ndo livhuwa mulangadzuli.
Thank you, Honorable President.
Tatani Maswanganyi na khensa swinene hi xivutiso xexo. Leswi swa timayini ta hina, timayini to tala laha ti le mavokweni a ti-private investors. Kusukela mining isungula laha a South Africa, timayini to tala a ti zange ti va timayini ta hulumeni wa hina. Hulumeni wa hina u kuma mali ka timayini leti loko u endla tax ka tona, loko u tlhe u kuma ti-royalties. Ti-royalties i tax leyin'wani ya special leyi hakelwaku hi timayini leti. Loko yi hlanganisa hinkwayo ku va na mali leyi nga kota ku ri yes i aka sovereign wealth fund. Ka matiko man'wani vona va endle ku ri timayini ta vona ti va ta vona. Va endle swilo leswi swi vitaniwaku ku ri timayini hinkwato ti va ta vona. Hina laha a hi sungulangi tani. Hi sungule loko mining i sungula hi 1867, ku sunguliwe hi ndlela yaleyo ku ri timayini ti owniwa hi ti-investors. And government, hulumeni wa hina, wona u kuma ti-tax leti. Ka ti-royalty leti hi ti kumaka, hi to a hi nga kota ku ri hi ti tirhisa. Now, sometimes there are mining booms, as they call them, commodity booms, where mining companies do earn quite a lot of money, and the taxation thereof is quite substantial. But so are the royalties. And the royalties are what could be used to also accumulate the sovereign wealth fund. Now, the taxation goes obviously to the revenue fund, which then helps to fund, together with other taxes that either we pay as individuals and companies pay, to fund everything that the people of South Africa need. By agglomerating various state-owned enterprises that are obviously going to start working better as we move on and make quite a lot of profit, We argue that that gives us the platform and the foundation to build a sovereign wealth fund. Rather than take money from the fiscus, money that is always utilized to fund a whole range of initiatives that government embarks upon, it would be good to set aside money, some of which could come from royalties, and some of which could come from the profits that these companies make. That would then help to build a sovereign wealth fund. Other countries have used it successfully. Even where mining companies, for instance, are owned by private individuals or resources, they have been able to utilize those earnings, and they can be categorized into many categories, if you like, and those can then be utilized to build a sovereign wealth fund. We are committed to create a sovereign wealth fund, and we believe that the architecture that we're putting together now will be able to assist us in building a sovereign wealth fund. And this we will be doing for future generations, because it takes quite a while to build a facility like a sovereign wealth fund. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.